Hi, guys. Welcome to Just Common Sense. My name's Brian Harrison. We have a lot to talk about tonight. I've got Jerry Dangler on the other line. Actually had some other people that wanted to be here tonight, but again, they had things that came up and they could not be here. We're going to talk about a lot of things. We're going to talk about voter ID. That's the biggest thing we're going to be talking about tonight. We're going to be talking about Biden. Look, I'm not joking. I'm not getting any funny things tonight because this is a very, very serious subject, a very serious subject. We are under attack. We are under attack by the radical left right now and what they want to do to this country. They are trying to destroy this country, as I'm going to say it. And you guys, some of you out there may say, oh, Brian's being really radical. Well, no, go research. That's what I'm saying. Go listen to some of these talk show hosts right now, what they're saying, especially on the conservative side. They're saying the exact same thing. So what I want to talk about, first of all, we're going to talk about what they're trying to do. First of all, voter ID. They are against having voter ID. Now, a lot of states have voter ID. Texas, on the other hand, is trying to pass some new rules out there. They want voter ID. Now, with the voter ID, they want to go ahead and they want to have where you either show a driver's license or an identification card. That needs to be done, for example, by the DMV. It needs to be a government or state ID, basically. It's going to have to be something like that. You can't just come in and say, hey, I've got an electric bill with my name on it. That does not work. That shouldn't work. The reason why is because somebody that came across the border, and this is why the borders are open, by the way. This is why they want the borders open, because they want to get these people over here and say, oh, well, they just showed us a utility bill. That was okay. These are illegals that are coming in. And that's part of this. This is just one big part of this. That's, again, why they want these people to come into this country, because they want their votes. So this is not right. It is not legal. It shouldn't be legal to have people that are here illegally voting. Not at all. So we need to have this thing where everybody in the whole country, every state should have IDs that you should show that are government IDs, such as a driver's license or identification card. Now I'm going to break this down. I heard something earlier today. I'm going to get into this. I heard somebody mention, well, what if you can't get an ID? You can get an ID. Well, this certain individual doesn't have a driver's license, doesn't have identification card, and doesn't have a birth certificate. Go to the Social Security Administration. They will get you an ID. Oh, I lost my Social Security card. They will find a way of doing it. You can go online, get this done. Look, my wife lost all her stuff. She was born in Hawaii. You can go to the hospital where you were born. You can actually go online and go ahead and look up your history. Have them look it up. They can send everything out to you, and that way you have a birth certificate. Bingo, done. That easy. So don't give me any excuses why you can't get an ID. Now, I talked to some people about it the last couple days. Some people said, it's not fair. What's not fair about it? What is not fair? Everybody should be allowed to vote. Everybody is allowed to vote who is here legally, who should have an ID. That is it, period. And that's it. So I'm going to play a segment here from Biden, and everybody's been talking about it today. Everybody is furious. Now, I do want to go into this. I want you guys, again, to look up his history, look up his past, see racist comments this guy has made. Very racist throughout the years. And you can find them out there. Just Google racist comments that Joe Biden has made, and you're going to find a lot of crazy things out there you guys have never seen. This is why you need to do your research. I always say, do your research. Jerry, you got anything to add to this tonight?
Yeah, I'll just throw a couple of quick things in there for the person you were talking about who claims that his mother or grandmother or whoever would have a hard time getting ID. I happen to know that, you were talking about somebody here in North Carolina, and North Carolina actually has a mobile DMV that travels around the state and goes to different areas. So to claim that somebody cannot get to a DMV office is completely irrelevant, because they have a mobile DMV that will provide state identification cards or driver's licenses. And so that nullifies the argument that you can't get to a DMV office in North Carolina. And, I heard you talking about the voter ID and, how some states have it.
Correct.
I just want to clarify one thing. It's not some states. It's actually the majority of states.
Correct.
There's 36 of the 50 states that, have some form of voter ID requirement. And so, it's crazy for people to say that it's racist. So, I just don't understand, how it could be racist.
Correct.
To not have, as a matter of fact, the other day, Kamala Harris came out and made the comment about how rural Americans can't get a copy of their identification card if they had to make a copy. And so now what she's doing is she's saying that, basically, farmers are too stupid to have an inkjet printer at home that they could throw their ID on and make a copy of it.
I know. It's absolutely crazy. She was, and I'm going to go into something else she said in a little bit here today. First of all, let's talk about Texas. I want to break down Texas a little bit. Let's talk about the governor of Texas. So,
sure. Now, I got you a little off track. Did you want to play that clip first? Or?
No, I'll play the clip in a minute. Then we'll go back to that. Right. First of all, the governor of Texas, what's going on down there is you had quite a few Democrats who have left Texas. Okay.
Yes.
They're in the middle of session. Yeah, they're in the middle of all this right now, and they're in the middle of going through this, trying to vote and get this voted on. Well, guess what? They left Texas, aborted a plane to fly to D.C. First of all, the governor has threatened to arrest these people. Now, the governor was talking about it tonight, and he has every right to arrest these people. Now, there's a glitch where they can get out of it. It's really weird, but as long as they stay in D.C. for 30 days, then this whole thing they're working on drops and they have to start it all over again. They can come back. He can't arrest them. Believe that or not, Jerry? I just heard that from the governor himself tonight talking about it. Now, on the other side of that, if they did it again, if they flew out again, we're starting this whole cycle over again, which is absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Well, one thing that's difficult in Texas is that the state legislature in Texas is unlike a lot of states. The state legislature in Texas only meets every other year. So they're not in session all the time. It's actually a part-time job there.
Yeah.
And so if these people can just basically run out the clock on the legislative session for this year, then, basically what they're going to do is kind of subvert the process. And it may have to wait for another year unless they can, again, have to call a session of the legislature.
You're breaking up. Say it again.
Yep. Must be that weather. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Sorry about that.
Okay. But yeah, so unless they call another special session, then, they could run the clock out here and, basically kind of impose their will being a minority, which is ironic. And when I say minority, I mean in numbers, not, race or religion or anything like that. Sure. But, what's ironic is the Democrats, you see,
you're breaking up again.
The filibuster.
Come back, say it again.
This is a filibuster.
Jerry, I lost you. Where you at?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I like it. About that lightning bite. I wonder if that's
I can't hear you
interfering.
At all. Hold on, you there? Come back. Sorry, guys.
I can hear you.
Well, apparently we lost Jerry, guys. I'll have him call back in, or we'll figure it out. I just lost him. Jerry, you want to call me back?
I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Hold on. There he is. Okay, sorry about that. All right, I can hear you now.
You were telling me about that lightning earlier, so I don't know if that happened. But
yeah, we have a bad storm in the area, guys. So sorry about that.
What I was saying was that the Democrats in Washington, D.C. are basically trying to fight and get rid of the filibuster. And what the Democrats in Texas are doing is basically a de facto filibuster.
Correct.
By leaving the area and stopping all legislation.
That's exactly what the governor said tonight of Texas. Said the exact same thing you just said. Are you there?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, he's. I got to tell you, I'm a fan of Governor Abbott, and I think he's doing everything that he can. And
he is.
It's just kind of ridiculous, that they're acting. The Democrats are acting like such children. And I know a lot of people aren't going to like what I say, but that's fine. Basically the Democrat way.
Yeah, no, and that's fine. Now I want to go into this. First of all, they got on a plane, Private plane. That's fine. No
Like
mask.
taxpayer expense.
Yep. No mask, by the way, guys. No mask. I mean, they're pushing mask up there. No mask. That's fine. Well, and they fly up there and they're drinking and partying like it's a big party. This is nothing to party about, guys. This is a serious, serious time. And you have somebody like this, and you're going to hear the clip in a minute. This is absolutely, absolutely insane what he said. And he said, remember, let's go back a couple weeks ago when he was talking about nuclear weapons, and he was talking about planes and what was that, F-15s, right? He was talking about that, and it was absolutely crazy. And that was on one of my podcasts before. I am not a fan of Biden by any means, especially with what I'm seeing right now and everything I'm hearing. So, we'll play the clip in just a minute. I do want to break down something. 81% of Texans, again, I'm going to repeat that, 81% of Texans want voter ID. It's a fact. Now, why would the Democrats run out of there if that's the case? Why? Think about it. You have a comment on that, Jerry?
Yeah, because they know that without voter fraud, that it's very unlikely that they win a major election again. And they know that with voter ID, that would reduce voter fraud substantially.
They're running scared right now because they know that everything they're doing is not working. Again, everything they're doing is not working. And you know what? 2022, they're terrified of that, and they're really terrified of 24. They're scared of what's going on right now with this. So, keep in mind, this is going on in Texas. Why don't they want voter ID in Texas? Think about it, guys. What's at the border? Texas, Mexico, coming across the border. Bingo. There's where you're looking at. That's why they want it there, because they know that they're going to get those votes from illegals. That's exactly right.
And it goes deeper.
Yes.
If they get those votes from illegals, the Democrats could flip Texas, and without Texas, the Republicans will never win another presidency.
Right. And again, with this filibuster they're trying to push through, that's all they're trying to do. All they care about is power. Power, power, power. And you know what? Instead of doing the right thing and actually trying to work with conservatives, trying to work with everybody, they are doing their little pouty fits, trying to force this stuff down everybody's throat, doing totally the wrong thing. And they know this stuff's not working. So why do it? Why? Because they're used to doing it. It's habit for them. The radical left. And as Jerry said the other night, I'm going to bring this up. I brought it up in the last couple podcasts. Jerry had a good point. If you're on the side of the Democrats right now and you're moderate and you're going, well, I do agree this is going on, then leave the Democrat Party. Don't go to the Republican Party if you don't want to. That's fine. There's Libertarian, there's Independent, there's a couple of... Just do that. Don't support a party that you're not happy with. And the same thing goes with Republicans. If you're not happy with the Republican Party, then leave. Go to a different party. If you're not happy with the Democrat, then go to a different party. That's it. That's all you got to do. It's common sense, guys. All right, Jerry, anything on top of this? Because we're going to go into a little bit more here I want to go into, and we're going to play the segment. Anything else before I play the segment?
That's, you pretty covered it.
All right, I'm going to play this. Jerry's, you're there, but you're breaking up a little bit. I'll go ahead and play this. I'm going to put my glasses on because I can't see without them hardly. All right, we're going to play this segment. There's a couple segments of Joe Biden, and I want you to hear how crazy this sounds. All right, you ready? Let's go, guys.
On free and fair elections is just such a threat, literally. I've said it before. We're facing the most significant test of our democracy since the Civil War. That's not hyperbole. Since the Civil War.
That scares me.
The Confederates, back then, never breached the Capitol, as insurrectionists did on January the 6th. I'm not saying this to alarm you. I'm saying this because you should be alarmed. Things out on the line. Honor your trust with trust. So hear me clearly. There's an unfolding assault taking place in America today an attempt to suppress and subvert the right to vote and fair and free elections, an assault on democracy, an assault on liberty, an assault on who we are as Americans. For make no mistake, bullies and merchants of fear, peddlers of lies, are threatening the very foundation of our country. It gives me no pleasure to say this. I never thought my entire career I'd ever have to say it. But I swore an oath to you, to God, to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. That's an oath that forms a sacred trust to defend America against all threats, both foreign and domestic. You don't call facts fake and then try to bring down the American experiment just because you're unhappy. That's not statesmanship. That's not statesmanship. That's selfishness. That's not democracy. It's the denial of the right to vote. It suppresses. It subjugates. The denial of full and free and fair elections is the most un-American thing that any of us can imagine, the most undemocratic, the most unpatriotic, and sadly, not unprecedented.
Okay, I just wanted to go into that. I played the segment. That's all I wanted to do with that. All right, guys. Jerry, what'd you think about that? You got a lot to say. I know you're wound up. You got a lot.
It's astounding. It's astounding to me that with some of the things that have happened to our nation that have formed us into what we are, such as World War II, the Korean conflict, World War I, the furthering of the Industrial Revolution, the Cold War with Russia, the Cuban Missile Crisis, that Joe Biden calls voter ID, the biggest threat to our democracy since the Civil War. It just astounds me the insanity that he promotes when he says it.
That's correct, and it is. It's absolutely crazy, the stuff he's saying. I was totally shocked to hear this, and I'll be honest, I was very angry to hear this. I'm still upset about it. First of all, there's no reason to bring up the Civil War. It has nothing to do with this. There is nothing to compare the Civil War with this. And then they talk about January 6th. Let me tell you something. You cannot bring up the Civil War against January 6th. How many people died in the Civil War versus January 6th? How many died? What happened on January 6th, Jerry and I both know. We don't condone it. We're against it. We were not for that. It was a stupid move. But again, that's all the radical left keeps falling back on January 6th. And now they're trying other stuff. They just target and target and target. And I tell you what, we're all getting tired of it. We're getting very tired of it. And people are getting angry out there. I hear it on the streets. I hear it from people. And look at all the violence going on out there. Do something about that, Joe. Don't take away guns from people that are legally, I should say, people that legally have guns. Legally. Do the right thing. Learn something, Joe. And again, look at his history. Look how racist he is. Look how angry this guy gets. And I'll be honest, tonight, yes, I'm fired up. Yes, I'm fired up because the military has fought for our freedoms out there. My father shed blood, and I mean just fought like crazy and froze to death almost for the freedom of this country, for your freedom out there, guys. And that's why I'm fired up. Jerry, you're a Marine. Definitely tell us what you think.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, your father, and a lot of people say, okay, well, he fought overseas, so he wasn't really, fighting for America. But let's think what he was fighting against. He was fighting against communism.
Correct.
Okay, plain and simple. When he was in Korea, he was fighting the communist North Korea and the communist Chinese. For my first probably 8 or 9 years in the Marines, we were in the Cold War with Russia. And, our regional conflicts were typically against Russian-backed militaries. So we've been fighting communism in this country ever since World War II ended. Whether it was in Korea, Vietnam, the Cold War, whatever. And it's like, so for these people to be trying to bring processes that are very Soviet-like, as a matter of fact, One of the things Joe Biden talked about was federalizing elections. Well, gee, doesn't that sound quite Russian and Stalinistic?
Exactly. Yes, it does. And that's absolutely crazy. Absolutely. So go on, Jerry. Sorry.
Yeah, but so like I said, I mean, our conflict has been against communism for, 80 years. And, the fact, when these people come out and they start, talking about that, having voter ID is the biggest threat to our democracy. No, it's actually the exact opposite.
Correct.
Not having voter ID is the threat to our democracy, because once we no longer require voter ID, we now turn around and say, okay, well, whoever can stuff the ballot box better is going to win all the elections.
Including other.
So then
go ahead. I'm sorry. I thought you were done.
And then you couple that with, bringing the people in from other countries and letting them just pour across our border and give them legal status and say, well, hey, you got to remember to vote for us because we're the ones that did that for you. So, a combination of, federalizing things that shouldn't be federalized, and then, giving people that have no right to vote the right to vote, that is a bad recipe for going forward with our country.
That's correct. And I'm telling you, I even, it just shocks me. We could talk about Cuba right now. We see what's going on in Cuba. We really do. You said something to me earlier. We were talking earlier today about it. Go ahead and tell me what you were saying about the one person. I forget you told me who said.
Well, you and I both grew up in Florida.
We did.
And growing up in Florida, one of the things that we both experienced was in 1980 and then again in 1994,
correct,
the huge influx of people coming across from Cuba to Florida to come to the United States. Mm-hmm. Well, part of that was when the Cubans realized that the U.S. would let everybody in, they just emptied their prisons and sent us all their criminals, their rapists, their murderers, their thieves, things like that. And they sent them in with good people. So there were good people coming in, but they mixed these other people in with them. So now they don't have to pay to keep these people in prison and things like that. So I was listening to a Cuban that lives in Miami who has come from Cuba. He's an older gentleman, and he brought up that, guess what? That's what's probably going to happen with the issues in Cuba right now. The people are starting to demonstrate against the government, asking for their liberty or demanding their liberty and freedom. And said, what's probably going to happen, the Cuban government is probably going to call these people dissidents and send them to the United States. Well, right now we've got an open border with Mexico, and they're just letting people come in and send them all over the country and set them up with homes and jobs and government money and everything. Well, how are we going to say no to the Cubans if we're saying yes to the Mexicans and the Salvadorans and the Nicaraguans and everybody coming up through Central America through Mexico? So what's happening is not only our southern border on Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, and California, we're about to have an influx of, tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of people coming from Cuba. And guess what? If they tell them, hey, we let you in, so now you got to vote for us.
That's true.
There's another voting bloc.
That's exactly where this is going. Now, I got to admit, growing up in Florida, and for those of you who grew up in Florida, you know where I'm going with this. A lot of my friends down there were Cuban. And I love Cuban people. They were fun. They have great food. I love hanging out with them. I had great friends that were Cuban. Look, I went to school with a lot of Cuban in middle school, high school, everywhere. It was crazy, and it was great. And they were so happy to be part of the United States, but they came in legally, these people that I knew. And what's going on down there right now? They just want their freedom. That's it. Jerry, you were telling me about something. You were telling me, I can't remember the person you were telling me about, saying, oh, well, they were basically, they're not a communist country. Who was that you were telling me about? You remember you were mentioning?
Oh, the press secretary. Well, it's not that they weren't a communist country,
right.
But Jen Psaki, that knucklehead press secretary for the current administration, was claiming that the people that are fleeing Cuba right now are not fleeing communism. She can't say what they are fleeing, but she said they're not fleeing communism. That's, again, I hate using the same word multiple times in the same presentation, but I'm going to do it, insanity. And it's like, there is no sane person that thinks that people are leaving Cuba for any other reason other than communism. Cuba, as a geographical location, is a beautiful island. They have beautiful beaches. Their weather's fantastic. Yeah. And so the only reason people are leaving there is because the government is intolerable.
So, and I agree with you. Now, let's think about something else. If you go back to 1940s, 50s, just before all this started, and especially the 40s and 50s, or probably early 50s the most, before Castro got involved, let me tell you something, guys. The United States, it was like almost going to Hawaii. Everybody wanted to go to Cuba. Cuba was everything there. I mean, their economy was doing great. Everything was doing great. And then Castro takes over. Guess what? Communism, socialism. Guess what? Country's broke. What's happening here? This keeps up. Guess what? I said Rome fell. Again, Rome fell. This keeps up. What's going to happen in the U.S.? This is absolutely crazy. No, we cannot allow this. We cannot allow communism. We cannot allow socialism in this country. I am against it. I am for freedom. And I've always said that. I am for our soldiers. I'm for our police. And I'm just boiling over this. I got to be honest. This just drives me crazy what's going on. I'm seeing this. And I'll tell you what.
People want to see, what their future can be here in the United States if we go down that road.
Yeah.
If you look at news clips of what's going on in Cuba right now, you see all these old classic cars driving around.
Yeah.
Wait, I need to correct that statement. They aren't classic cars. It's just the most recent cars that they've had brought in, and the only thing they can afford to drive because they're a communist country. Mm-hmm. So they're just putting things together, and they're probably using duct tape and bubble gum to hold those cars together. And so what we would consider classic cars, that's just the most recent things they've been able to get. So, these people down there, they're not allowed to, be profitable. There's no capitalism. So if you work hard, you're not going to have any more than the lazy person down the street. And so, and that's basically the future for our country if we don't do something to stop it.
And that's very true. And that's what we're starting to see here. And that's why we're getting tired of it. Look, I'm going to tell you something for you radical left people out there and you people that love socialism. Tell you what, I know a lot of good Cubans down there. I'm willing to go ahead. I think you guys should move to Cuba. We'll trade you out and we'll take the good Cubans down there and we'll move them into this country. I'm glad to do that. Then you're going to find out what communism and socialism is about. That will change your opinion in life. For those of you who have no idea. Tell you what, if you want another thing to talk about, talk to somebody from Russia who was involved in that, in the Cold War. It was involved in there, who lived there and was living under communism and live here now. Tell you what, talk to some of your Russian friends. They're going to tell you how much better it is to be here versus being in a communist country. And same thing with people from Cuba. You'll run across some people from Cuba. Definitely ask them. Why do you think right now you have North and South Korea? Why do you think they're divided? Because of a communist country. Who's doing better? Again, not North Korea. They haven't done anything in years. Their economy's terrible. Their leader is basically just taking everything from them. He's not a good leader. He's a communist. And that's where this stuff's going. You guys are sitting back going, well, it's not that bad. And, well, you better wake up. Like I said the other night, step. It's baby steps. It's exactly where this is going. This isn't going to happen, guys. Not happening at all. So I'm just going to say it. These people that flew to D.C. were wrong. They were wrong. They need to get back, do their job, do the right thing. And you know what? Do what the people want them to do. They're hired to do a job. That's it. They're public servants. Again, nothing more. I think, again, there should be term limits. And I think the American people should go ahead and call in a vote to have term limits on the House, on the Senate, and even the Supreme Court and all the justices out there, because when we get into a variety of things, you're going to get new, fresh ideas. Also, I don't like to get an age discrimination, but I'm going to say it. This will get people out who have been in there many years because they only get so many terms. And then on top of it, my own father said this. He was sharp up until the day he died. And I'll say it, but he also told me he knows a lot of people that at his age shouldn't be driving cars and shouldn't be making decisions like that. Now, I will grant some of them are still got it together. But again, sometimes as you get older, you don't think as fast. Just like Joe Biden. We're seeing it. We see when he speaks. When he speaks, he goes, he has to think for a little bit. Or unless somebody's got a earpiece in his ear. There's been rumor of that. I'm not saying that because I don't know. I don't have fact. You know me. I'm not going to.
Well,
until
I don't know
have
about
fact.
an earpiece, but I do know I've watched him stop and go blank and have to pull note cards out of his jacket pocket and go through his note cards until he finds what he's supposed to say according to his handlers. So, I don't know about an earpiece, but I do know that he uses notes.
That's correct. And I mean, I saw it last night. I mean, I saw him get angry. Okay, now I just heard from the left. You know what we heard from the left just now? Well, what about Trump? What about Trump? He gets angry all the time. That's exactly what they just said, the radical left. You know what? Trump has passion for this country. Yes, he has passion for the people. Okay? Yes, he speaks in a certain way. I don't agree with everything he says. Sometimes I don't agree with how he speaks. But again, the policies were good. Things were doing great. I heard, oh, by the way, Jerry, I heard from somebody today, and I couldn't stop laughing. I was actually on a certain social media site. We're not going to say who. But person started coming at me against the vaccine. You know what? They started saying, well, Pfizer had the vaccine out before even Trump started Warp Speed. Where do you get your information, guys? Where? Look, I'm going to explain it. You know where Pfizer is? Rocky Mount. You know where I live? North Carolina. Do you know people I know that work at Pfizer? You know these people and doctors that I know? Thank you, Trump. That's exactly what they all say, including these pharmaceutical companies. I've talked to plenty of these people. I run into people all the time, and they say, thank you, Trump, for helping us with this. Now, again, I'm not going to say it was all Trump. It was the pharmaceutical companies, the scientists that were involved in this. And again, thanks for doing that. That's great.
But he took the restrictions off of them to let them do it. So it doesn't matter that he wasn't in the lab doing it.
Correct.
A president is just a guide for our country. I mean, the president, if we have to go to war, he doesn't actually go out and stand there and tell the tanks where to go and the jets where to fly and everything like that. And the same thing with the vaccine.
Yes.
He facilitates the ability for that vaccine to happen.
Correct.
But it's not his job to go out there and actually make it. But, he took a lot of the shackles off those companies. And the reason they said it was going to take so long is the FDA, the restrictive processes that they have for approval of something is just ominous. And he said, okay, no, this is important. We need to get this done. So I'm going to remove this restriction and that restriction, and you guys just need to get it done.
Yeah, that's correct. And that's why it was by the FDA. It was for an emergency approval, not fully approved. And the people out there just go, what? Yeah, that's true, guys. Look up this. The vaccine is not fully approved through the FDA. It's for emergency. That's why they push that through. Now, again, I'm not saying the vaccine's bad. Yes, we've heard rumors. Yes, I've heard some people die from it and things like that. There's been blood clot issues. There's been all kinds of things going on out there, things that you don't know of. But again, you could get the flu shot and die too. I could take an Advil and die. Things just happen. People have reactions. But again, I'm not 100% for all the vaccines, what's going on. I think they need more research and time. But COVID's been around for many years. COVID-19, something new. But again, it's what it is. And we're going to live with it. It's never going to go away. And that's what we deal with. But I just kind of wanted to mention that today again. And that being said, we're more interested in what's going on with this voter fraud. So I really wanted to bring this up. I know a lot of people are really upset right now. Jerry, you were talking about some of the with the election from Trump and some of the stuff starting to change. We're starting to see some of these cases out there of voting. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, some of the I'm starting to see there's irregularities coming out in the Arizona audit now. But probably the most telling thing that caught my attention was I was reading a report that in the Georgia audit of that right now that there is a 60% margin of error in Fulton County, which is the most populated county in Georgia. Now think about that, a margin of error of 60%. When you see election polling the margin of error is normally 1% to 2% when they say this person's leading or that person's leading.
Yes.
And, so, margin of error should be fairly small, if you want to give any kind of accurate data. A margin of error of 60% is unbelievable. I've never heard of such a thing on anything, whether it be elections or, vaccines or anything like that. I mean, if we had a 60% margin of error on the vaccine, they wouldn't even be allowing people to be vaccinated.
That's
so
right.
A 60% margin of error in an election, in, election results in Fulton County, something needs to be investigated. And frankly, I heard somebody say that the governor of Georgia should resign because he's the guy that certified the election. And I can't argue with that. When you've got an election that flawed, but somebody said, yeah, what the heck, let's just go ahead and let's sign off on it and make it legal.
Yeah, which was wrong. The people's vote should count with voter ID. That's a government ID, something from the DMV.
Well, what you just said is very important. And I want to touch back on that real quick because, I know that, sometimes we say things and we don't think about, how other people are going to hear it. Right. But what you just said is every vote should count. And I agree.
Right.
And the Democrats are screaming that we want every vote to count. That's why they don't want voter ID. But in reality, what voter fraud does is voter fraud negates the vote of legal voters. So if you really truly want every vote to count, then you need to make sure that only legal voters are voting. And so that's why we need to have voter ID.
That's correct. And that's exactly what this is about tonight. Now, the Biden administration doesn't want that because they know if they get all these people that are voting legally with ID, they know they're not going to win. They know they're not going to win. That's exactly what this is about. So what's your opinion? You think I'm right on that, Jerry? I would.
Absolutely.
I'm 100% right.
No, I totally agree with that. And, not to sound like I'm going down the rabbit hole of conspiracy theory.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. But yeah.
In 2016, when Hillary Clinton lost that election, one of the things you and I have talked about just, offline is about how she really didn't run much of a campaign. Well, my personal opinion, and it's not a conspiracy theory, but my personal opinion is that she was already told she was going to win, couldn't lose, and they had the fix in for 2016 to make Hillary the Trump popularity.
Say that, Jerry. Say that, Jerry S. Law. Just say that again. You cut out.
Well, I think in 2016 the fix was in for Hillary, and that's why she didn't run much of a campaign. And so with her not running much of a campaign, I think they told her, you're the president, don't worry about it. If you go out and say something people don't like, then that could hurt your cause. So let's just kind of keep you under wraps, and we're going to make sure that you get elected. Well, the Trump popularity was so great that they didn't expect the swell of support that Trump got. And there's no way to hide Trump support and fraud.
I think we lost Jerry again.
Yep. Are you there? I can hear you, Brian.
Yeah, I can hear you now. Sorry about that, guys. Go ahead.
Okay. Jerry. But, with Trump, I think that, it was just one of those things where they couldn't hide the results enough. So they spent the next 4 years, basically putting together the new plan to put whoever they wanted to put in office, which wound up being Biden. Yeah. And, one of the things, with you living here in North Carolina, one of the things you'll know is we have voted twice to have voter ID here in North Carolina. Yeah. And twice the Democrats have gone and turned around and had the will of the voters subverted by saying, nope, we're not going to do it.
Yeah, that's true.
And so how ironic is that the voters are saying we want voter ID, but then the governor is going to turn around and say, nope, you can't. Well, actually, the first time it went to the Supreme Court and there was some obscure little segment in there that they said could possibly be negative. So they sent it back to North Carolina. The law was rewritten. It was re-voted on. The people voted again for voter ID, and the Democrat governor said, nope, we're not doing it.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah, this stuff's getting crazy. I mean, this is why the show's just common sense, because this is really what it's about, guys. It's really about
Well, let me throw a challenge out to your listeners. Okay, the challenge I want to throw out to your listeners is find me a Republican-run state where the Republican governor has tried to veto voter ID. Yeah, it doesn't happen.
No,
it only happens in Democrat states.
Not going to happen. That's correct. That is absolutely correct. Yeah, definitely research it, guys. Don't listen to your friends who tell you, hey, this is happening. Do your own homework. Do your own homework. And this is a very serious subject tonight. A very serious subject. And
well, a few years ago, my mother and I were talking, and she lives in Georgia, and they have voter ID in Georgia right now.
Oh, yeah.
And when I told her that we did not have voter ID in North Carolina, she was flabbergasted. She thought I was kidding, and I had to send her news articles that showed her that we did not have voter ID. She thought I was pulling her leg.
Yeah.
And that's when, and this is probably, I believe this was when Mitt Romney was running against Obama. And, so it's been a few years, but she thought I was pulling her leg, thought I was joking, and I had to prove to her that we didn't. And she said, every state you had to have voter ID. And that's part of the problem. So many people don't realize it's not standard. It should be, but it's not.
Yeah. No, I'm going to go back what I was saying a little bit ago. It's just common sense because that's what it is. And I don't know why. Well, we know why Biden doesn't have it because he doesn't care. It's about getting the vote, staying in office, keeping the power, keeping the vote and the power. That's all they care about. All they want is the power. I've said it before. They don't care about you. They really don't. They care about staying in that office, the radical left. And a lot of them up there are very radical. Oh, by the way, the people that came up from Texas, obviously it flew up that we're talking about. Well, guess what Kamala Harris said? She pretty much called them, oh, they're heroes almost. They're not heroes. Kamala Harris can't even go to the border. She can't even go to the border. She goes to El Paso. Yeah, the border runs right by there and through it. But she didn't go with the Rio Grande where the real problem is because she wanted to avoid it. Because if you don't see it, it's not there. It's
like
denial.
A little child that's in trouble with their parents. The mom's about to spank them or, punish them in some way, and the child closes their eyes and says, "Oh, I closed my eyes. Now you can't see me."
Exactly. Exactly.
If she goes down there and doesn't visit the border, well, if I don't visit where the problem is, then it must not exist.
Right. If I don't see it, it's not there, and it's denial. She can say it. Oh, I never saw it. It's denial. They know it's there. They know it's there, but they want it to happen. They really want this to happen. And if they were so worried about COVID, why not go down there and send a bunch of doctors down there, do the test, give them COVID vaccines as they're coming across the border? Common sense, guys. Common sense. They don't have it. We do. It's absolutely crazy. Anything else, Jerry? I know you got things going on tonight. We're going to cut the show in just a minute here. We got a lot going on, and look, there's a lot to talk about. Guys, I'll be talking to you from the beach this weekend. I haven't been to the beach in a long time, but we'll see how it goes. I might try to interview people out there. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to try to interview people and see what they think about all the stuff going on right now and get their opinion. We're going to hear all kinds of crazy opinions out there, I'm sure. So
it's funny you say that because all of the people that I know that did vote for Joe Biden, there is not one of them that has brought up any of his accomplishments for a few reasons. One, he doesn't have any.
Right.
And so, they're not bringing him up. But, all they want to do is criticize Trump, not, basically talk about any of Biden's actual accomplishments. And so that's interesting. So, maybe when you're at the beach this weekend, it would be an interesting experiment. Take two little short flagpoles and stick them in the sand and have a Trump flag on one and a Biden flag on the other one and see, what kind of response you get with that. I'd be pretty willing to bet that the Biden, unfortunately, you might get one or two people that say something, inappropriate, but for the most part, they might just kind of smile, shake their head, whatever. But I guarantee that on the Trump flag, you'll have people cussing you out and flipping you off and everything like that. But if you talk to them, they won't be able to give you a good reason why they feel that way. It's just orange man bad, and, because they don't know. And it's like, and so they can't tell you anything really dislike about Trump other than his personality, but they can't tell you anything they like about Biden or that he's done.
Yeah. I
So
know.
that would be very interesting if you did that. If you're out at the beach and you're looking for, people to talk to, just have one of each of those flags and just kind of see where, and then when somebody makes a response or makes contact with you, just tell them, say, hey, well, you know what? Would you mind taking a moment with me? And just see what they say.
You know what's bothering me right now?
What's that?
That I have to spend money on a Biden flag if that's the case. I don't want to spend the 50 cents. I can't handle this.
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh, God.
Well, maybe what you could do is just buy a piece of poster board and just scribble, Biden 2020 on it or something like that and see what people say.
I don't know. I might be afraid out there because if I have this on the beach, I know some certain people that might see that Biden flag go for it. And all of a sudden I see them coming with their 4-wheel drives. I'll be standing there going, trying to get out of the way because they're going for that Biden flag running over it. I just can guarantee it.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, because
No
we know.
Yeah, you may need security if you're going to do that. I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
I know. Guess, well, we can figure out who drives most of these 4-wheel drive SUVs out there. So, because they all have
Even though we're laughing about that, though, Brian,
yeah,
it's kind of funny because in reality, that's about the exact opposite. They might not like it, but when you see all the violence in America right now, it's coming from the left and the right. People are frustrated, but if the right was as dangerous and violent as the left likes to present that they are, I think things would be a lot different right now across the United States. I mean, but you don't see Trump supporters burning down cities and taking over police stations. And frankly, I meant to say this earlier, but I kind of forgot when you talked about the January 6th. There's been a lot of evidence presented that shows that some of the instigators were actually from the left. As a matter of fact, one of them is actually awaiting trial in D.C. right now, the one that pretended to be a Trump supporter.
Yeah. No, I know it's out there. I'm going to say this because I heard Biden say it earlier, and I'm going to get into this just for a second. I don't like to bring God and religion, God and politics into it, and that's basically what's going on with some of this. But why does I'm going to say it, we're one nation under God. Again, one nation under God. Do you know what, guys? They want to get rid of that. They're trying to get rid of that out of the Pledge of Allegiance. The left is the radical left. Not all the left. Like I said, I like to use the words radical left. And I know we got radical right. I'll say it. I've said it before. I don't like seeing flags with F Biden on it. We don't need to go down that road. We really don't. Guys,
we do not need to lower ourselves to the same standard that they have lowered themselves to.
Right. And we don't. And I'm going to say it this way, though. To the left, to the right, independents, everybody. Guys, remember this. We are all Americans, one nation under God, with the American flag that stands. We don't need another American flag of some sort. We have one national anthem. We don't need another one. This is what America is about. It is about looking at that flag, understanding what it's about, the freedom of this country with respect, morals, and decency. I'm heated tonight myself. I'm heated with what he said. He said some stuff that he shouldn't be saying. It should be handled with a lot more tact, a way he should handle things. I'm not saying Trump was perfect. He said things, he got heated, yes, he did. But at least his policies were good. And I said this the other night, the Cartoon News Network, and I would love to see, I haven't even turned them on today, and I guarantee they are not showing any of the truth what's going on out there. The Cartoon News Network. We know who they are. Now, the other day they said, hide your flags. Trump's going to be on stage at CPAC, and he's going to be grabbing and hugging the flags. Guys at CNN, hell with the Cartoon News Network, sorry. CNN, why would you be ashamed of somebody hiding the or hugging the American flag? Sorry, I went blank. Hugging the American flag and kissing the American flag. Why? There's nothing wrong with that. It shows your love and respect for this country. There's nothing wrong with that. So anyway, what's your thoughts on that, Jerry, before we wrap up this show?
I just, the first time that I saw Trump do that, it was genuine. It didn't seem staged. He went over there and he's like, God, I love this flag. And he wrapped it, his arms around it. And at the time he was doing that, the Democrats were actually holding, it was right around the time they were holding their convention.
Yep.
And one of the things that was being pointed out was that there were 0 American flags on the stage at the Democrat National Convention. And,
Correct.
That should really tell the story to a lot of people on which party really supports America, loves America, and wants America to prosper and be the greatest nation. The left wants to go to this one world government where there's no borders and, there's no countries and everything like that. And they think that's going to work. That's anarchy. That's chaos.
Right.
And, people like Donald Trump, and there are many people on the right, and there's a few on the left that feel that way. But right now, the majority of the left is anti-America. And so when they see somebody that truly loves America, truly loves the flag, they like to drop the race baiting, comments, like you mentioned earlier about bringing race into it. And, I'll just reiterate something I've said before that, when the left throws out race, and calls everything racist, it's fairly disingenuous because the Democrat Party was started by a slave owner.
Right.
The Jim Crow laws were put in place by Democrats.
That's correct.
The KKK was started by Democrats in the South. And so, and there's a number of things that I could go on and on about, but again, I don't want to, keep, beating a dead horse, but it's just, so whenever they throw out race baiting comments, it's disingenuous. And that's where the American people really need to wake up and start calling them out on that and saying, hey, you know what? You need to knock that stuff off because, you guys are the ones that, basically are seated in racism. You're neck deep in it in your party.
Right. Well, listen to Joe Biden's past. Google him. Really Google him.
Oh, yeah.
Google him.
There's even the video on YouTube of all the racist stuff that he said, and it goes on for minutes.
Right.
It's not seconds, it's minutes.
And that's what you guys need to Google. I dare you to go out there and Google it. Do it. Do it and see what he says. And then then tell me what you think of this president here. Tell me what you think of him then. I love the American people. I love our flag. I love our military and what they stand for. I love our law enforcement. Sure, there's bad seeds and everything. I love the people on the left. I'll say it. There's a lot of people on the left I love that are confused and don't know what's going on. They just don't do their research. And I've got great friends that are on the left. I don't want to say they're radical left, but again, they are not. They follow people like sheep and they don't do their own research. And it's sad. We're all Americans. We're, like I said, I would prefer to see us all together and not do this. We don't need this divided. One thing that Joe Biden was running on, he was running in this campaign. He wants to bring unity. Unity. Said it. Guess what? He's dividing this more than anybody ever has. Anybody. I have never seen anything like this. And it's absolutely crazy. And they know they're losing. They're going to lose 2022 because they're doing this radical stuff. If they did not do this radical stuff and they did the things right, that's where they may have had a shot. And that would have helped them. But again, they do just the opposite of what they should be doing. Just the opposite.
Yep.
And,
I agree.
You were mentioning something about a one world country, where everybody's one world. It is a theory. It would be great if everybody in the world could get along and no problems at all. And that would be awesome. But that is not the case. We're not there. We're not there. I got to say it too. I heard it tonight. Let's talk about what Biden called. Do you know what Biden called the governor of Texas, by the way?
What did he call him?
A Neanderthal. Oh, my
gosh, that word's out again.
Oh, I know. I couldn't believe it. Called him that. Give me a break, Joe. Give me a break. Absolutely uncalled for. And again, Trump's guilty of some things too. I'm not going to deny that because I'm going to hear about it, and I agree. I agree. Trump has said some stuff like that, and it was not right. The comments weren't right. I'll say that. But again,
yeah, but you know what?
I like
I'm
his
going to go ahead and
policies.
clarify
Go ahead.
here, though. Okay. Well, with Trump, when he says something, and this is one thing that, I know I've said before.
Yeah.
He only responds to people talking. He does not go on the attack initially. So if Trump is saying something about somebody, that's because that person attacked Trump. If Trump is going after an organization, it's because that organization, made an attack either on America, on Trump, on our government, something like that. But he is never the instigator that goes out and starts a war of words like that. And so, that's one thing, whether you like what he says, don't like what he says, anything like that, I'm speaking in generic terms to anybody that's listening.
Yeah.
The one thing about him is, if you remember when he was running, he never once attacked a political opponent until that opponent attacked him. And then he responded. And he always said, look, if you attack me, I'm going to respond, and I'm going to respond equally or more than equal to you. And certain people like Ben Carson never attacked him. He never went after Ben Carson.
Yep.
And so, and that's, basically not true with Biden. Biden is going after people and attacking them verbally just because he doesn't like them.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and there's some point to that. That's definitely true. And one thing Biden said tonight, he was talking about bullies. Well, Biden, I hate to tell you, but the way you're handling this, you're the one that's being a bully. You really are.
Yep.
You and all of you guys up there are being bullies. Being bullies. Look at Maxine Waters. She's one of the biggest bullies out there, and she's very racist. Plain and simple.
Yep.
It is a fact. It is a fact. I don't like racism at all, and this is not a subject I like talking about. I don't want to have to talk about this. I don't want to talk about this when it comes to people being racist. I've got friends, like I said, are black, white, purple, whatever the case may be. I don't care about that. I don't look at that. I look at education, the way these people think. And I say there's white people out there just as bad. Sure there are. We know that. KKK, all that. I'm not for that. They're stupid. But again, this is absolutely crazy what's going on with this guy right now. And he's being the bully. He's being the bully. Yep. And one thing I do, like I said, I myself am a Christian. I try not to cuss. I try to do the right things in life. I'm not perfect. But again, everything's being attacked. Everything is being attacked when it comes to Christianity, when it comes to, all this stuff, when it comes to a lot of things, our national anthem, when it comes to police, everything. Defunding the police, not from the right, from the left. They started it. They were the ones that said this thing about defunding the police. This is a fact. Again, this is a fact. Nothing to do with the right. They make up stuff. Just like I said the other night. Guess who started the whole fake news thing? Donald Trump. He started calling out the news, saying fake news. Guess what? The Democrats started using that word afterwards. Can they come up with anything on their own? No, they can't. They have to copy everybody else when they're radical like that. It's crazy. Anyway, anything else, Jerry? You have any thoughts?
No, I'll just leave it at this. You were mentioning that, there's a radical left that's reprehensible, and you said, radical right is just as, as reprehensible. Yeah. And I fully agree with that. And what we need to do is we need to appeal to the people that are just to the right of center, just to the left of center, that, are more reasonable and rational to do the things that need to be done, because anything far left or far right is dangerous, because those are the my way or the highway kind of people. And it just, is not a good way to govern, because that's how you wind up alienating people. The problem in our politics today in the United States is that the Republicans are always willing to at least try to work with people on the left, because we really don't fill our party with far right people. But over the last 10 to 15 years, the left has really filled their party with far left people. Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, Ocasio-Cortez, Ayanna Pressley. It's like those are far left people.
Extremists.
And so when you have those people on the far left, they're not going to work with people that are somewhat in the center, whether it's left of center, right of center. Yeah. And so, that's just where I'll leave that, is that, right now, we need to focus on the people that are, to the left of center and to the right of center. And I think we have a lot more in common than we have in opposition.
That's correct. And we do. We have a lot more in common. When it comes to the radical right or left, guys, that's very few of them out there when it comes down to it, except for D.C. and some of these states we see it. And I do tack the left quite a bit more because there are a lot more radicals on the left side for some reason. It's just absolutely, it really, truly bothers me to see this because we are Americans, and that's what this is about. We're just people. Look, I said this from the get-go. I'm getting geared up. I want to run for Senate. I've said this. I'm trying to gear up for this, but I need some feedback from you guys. I want your opinion. Go to my email. Go to my website, www.just-commonsense.com. Please go to my email. Go to my YouTube. Subscribe, share my podcast. I'm everywhere now. But again, I want to work for the people of this country, the state. I want to work for you guys. And that's where I'm going to get some feedback, and you're going to tell me what you would like me to do for you. And again, I do believe in term limits. I think most of the people I speak with on the right or left believe in term limits. And that's the fact. And you'll find that out being more and more if you start asking everybody. It's going to be the case. Everybody does believe in this. You can't have career politicians. Old ideas got to go away, like Joe Biden's. He never has come up with any accomplishments in his entire life. And that's crazy.
Well, and not only that, if you allow politicians to stay in too long, they have no compulsion or desire to actually fix things, because the way they run for office is by saying, oh, I almost got it that last time. Give me one more term and I'll make it happen. And it's like, but if you told them, hey, look, you got this many years and you either fix it or you move on. Well, they don't want to be the forgotten person, so they're going to work much harder to fix it.
That's correct, and they don't. And that's the problem, and you have a shot. You can't fix the problem, then you're gone. Goodbye. You did your job. You're a public servant. That's all you are. You come up here, you do a job. You should do it for so many years, and you're out. And if you did a great job, thank you. Wonderful. That's what your legacy is. If you're someone like Pelosi, this is what you're going to live on in your legacy at 80. How old is she? 81 now, I think. 80, 81. But, oh, yes, guys, a lot of you just said, what? She's 80? I had some people thought she was 75 the other day. Look her up. Look her up.
No, she's not anywhere near that young.
Hold on. I'm going to do this. Alexa, how old is Nancy Pelosi?
Nancy Pelosi is 81 years old.
81. There you go. Hey. Yep. I got it right. Oh, gosh. Yes, that's a problem, guys. We need fresh ideas, fresh minds. Joe Biden's running right on her footsteps. He's getting close. But again, I say it. We have people that are sharp and have a great idea. Even at that age, they can be sharp. But again, there are people that are not. Age can get to you. And again, I cannot discriminate people on age base, because there are people out there working at certain stores and stuff. They're doing a great job. But when you're running a country, you need to know what you're doing. You need to be sharp. You need to be right there on the ball. And we need good, new,
Brian,
fresh ideas.
I've got to interject on that one.
Go ahead.
Okay. You just made an extremely important, point there that I just don't want to fly over somebody's head that's listening.
Okay.
You just said, if somebody's like 80, 81, 82 years old and they're doing an extremely good job. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Okay. If somebody's doing a good job, then age doesn't matter. But our politicians have failed to accomplish almost anything, the ones that are long-term career people. And so, when you look at a guy like Joe Biden with no signature accomplishment after 40-something years in Washington, D.C., Brian, my job, I wouldn't be there for 40 years if I wasn't accomplishing what I needed to accomplish.
Right.
I would be there maybe, 2 years. And the only reason it would even be that long is because of the laws that are in place where, okay, if I'm not doing my job, then they have to counsel me, and then they have to write me up, and then they have to suspend me. And there has to be a certain amount of time between each of those things. But at my job, and I know where you work and at your job,
Yeah.
if you weren't producing, you would be fired.
Yep.
And, unfortunately, we as voters in the voting booth are not firing these people. When it comes to elections, we're rehiring them by electing them. And that's part of the problem is, because like I said, it's like you and I would be fired if we didn't do our job. And these people are not doing their jobs, and they're being rewarded with a career.
Yeah, and that's true. And that's where I went in and said basically that where I was going into this, I was saying when when you're at a certain age, you could be a greeter somewhere. You know what I mean? But seriously, when you're running a country, a government, you've got to have somebody with a sharp mind who can actually run on the fly. Look, Biden right there, we hear him all the time. Like Jerry said earlier, he's pulling cards, and we've seen that. YouTube it. Pulls cards out of his pocket, trying to figure it out. A lot of stuttering and things going on. People do that. I understand it can happen once in a while, but when it consistently happens, that's a problem. People started yelling at Trump when he fell once. When Biden fell, did the conservatives really make a big deal about it? No. My thought was when he fell, oh my gosh, I hope he didn't get hurt. That's the first thing I thought. I said, I don't want him, even though if I may not like his policies and all, I don't want him to get hurt. I don't want the guy to fall down steps. He had shoes on. There were carpets going up there. He could have just slipped on the carpet a couple times. God knows, I've done it. We've all done it. It's nothing to make fun of when people fall. I worry more about them getting hurt. Look, my father, as he got older in life, fell a lot. That's because of his age. He fell. He got hurt. If you ever see that happen to one of your family members, and it's bad. It's bad. It's nothing to laugh about. It's not funny at all. And as you younger people see this happen to your parents as you grow up in life and things happen and I hope that never happens to you. I really don't. It is a tough thing to see. Very tough. From somebody being so strong that you looked up to and all of a sudden seeing them fall every week and things happening and dwindling down because of age. And it is sad. It is very sad, and it was a lot that my wife and I went through to see this. My wife and I love my father very much. My brother, I'll bring him up into this. My brother lives in New York. My brother loves my father. His father. My father. You know what I mean. Loves our father. And he wasn't here to see all that, but he saw some of it. It was devastating for him to see this. But he didn't live around it as much as I did. And you know what? I'm glad he didn't have to, because if he saw that, it would have devastated him. Just like it devastated me. It was tough. But he deals with his mother-in-law, and I know they have some things going on up there occasionally with her, and I think she's in her 90s now, and she is awesome. I met her. I've seen her over the years, and she is a wonderful, wonderful lady. I'll say it. She is a wonderful lady. And she's sharp. She's got her head together. She's got a few things there going on, but that's what age does to you. And they're dealing with that right now, and it's tough for them. I get that. Anything else, Jerry? Because I'm going to wrap the show up right now. And guys.
Nope, that'll do it.
All right. We'll have Jerry again on the show. Jerry, I'll talk to you in a second. So, guys, as always, go to www.just-common-sense. Keep in mind, I'm gearing up to run for Senate. I'm going to go ahead and work for you guys. Again, I'm only going to work there for so many years if I get this, because I believe in term limits. You can go on my podcast, look at all my YouTube videos, check it out. You'll find what I say when I say it, as far as what they should be working, how long that the Senate, House, they should all be in office for, the Supreme Court, all that. Again, go ahead, and I will see you guys soon. What do I always say at the end of the night? Guess what? Jerry, you want to take this one? You know where I go.
Thank you to our police officers, to our firemen, our first responders. Thank you to our farmers, to our truck drivers who have done a spectacular job over the last year and a half. And thank you to everybody that is out there pulling their own weight and working and not sitting at home and waiting for that government check.
I didn't have to say it tonight, guys. Oh, one last thing, guys. I did go in. I'm going to say this. It's a sad thing. I went into, I'm not going to say the name of the company, but there's a furniture company here in Raleigh. It's been in business for many, 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 many years. And I've actually bought a lot of furniture from them. I walked in there today because they had a sign on the door that says going out of business. It's very sad, very sad. I talked to the owner of the company, and she's devastated. She's happy in some ways just because she's going to go spend time with her parent who's elderly. And I talked to her today, and I said, please, that's the best thing you do. And I'm going to say it, guys, to everybody out there, spend as much time with your parents as you can and your family. Time is very valuable and very precious, the amount of time. We have very little time here on this planet. It may seem like we have a lot, but we have very little. And then we move on. And then my thing with this, going back to the furniture company, she was talking, and she says they were having a problem with truck drivers getting things here. They said the furniture's sitting over there. It's sitting over at the docks, but they can't get it over here because they're short of truck drivers. And then people don't want to work right now. We've talked about this. I mean, this is coming right out of her mouth saying this, telling me this. And they are going out of business because they can't afford to stay open because what's going on? Everything's going up in price. By the way, and I also heard from one of my, somebody I know, I'll say, they were talking about it today to me, and they were saying, yeah, there's going to be a price increase on a roof they're getting ready to put on a house. About 15%. It starts happening this Friday. I had somebody else telling me that there's going to be a price increase separate from that this Friday. So what's going on this Friday? The inflation's starting to take another, is it going up again? Here we go again. Inflation's going up. It is coming back, guys. It's going to bite all of us in the butt is what it's going to do. It's going to bite us in the butt. Anyway, guys, that's all I got to say. Jerry, you want to say anything? Say goodbye or anything? That's it?
Have an awesome night, everybody.
Have an awesome night, and I love you guys, and God bless you, and God bless America, and I will talk to you at the beach. Take care.